worked as a Fortune 500 technology executive and was CEO of the first internet radio network. He's a digital political strategist, helping the right side use new technology more effectively. He's a public speaker, sitting in for Rush Limbaugh today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tod Herman.
And on this day the Lord has made, it is an incredible honor to fill in for Rush Limbaugh, to be able to chat with you at 800-282-2882. I have one of these in my collection of radio memorabilia. You may have one of these. In fact, I've got multiple flavors of these. I have a bumper strip. I have a T-shirt. I have a button. And I have a book of sayings that people collected from Rush Limbaugh. And it says on each of those, it says, Rush is right. And I'm proposing that outside now, the Justice Department and the FBI, that we go, and I don't want to commit or cause to be committed a felony or even a misdemeanor, but it might be wise to right now go paint across from the DOJ and the FBI, maybe paint in bright yellow letters, Rush was right and Trump was right. Barack Obama knew. He knew that the intelligence, so-called, that was used to attempt a soft coup in the United States of America was born out of the most corrupt family in the history of American politics. This was cooked up by Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama knew this. These are declassified memos and John Brennan's notes on a briefing. So the single most criminal president and administration in history knew that the single most corrupt political family in history had invented from thin cloth using, and this is impossible to track. I think about this as a Hollywood pitch. You know, back in the day, I used to work in Hollywood when I was in tech and go down to the talent agencies, and I'm imagining this pitch. Hey, here's what we have. We have a criminal president and a corrupt Secretary of State using a spy, a foreign spy who has been banned from working for the FBI, whose secondary source is a national security threat, to create false information, to plant into a presidential race, and to lie to the FISA court. And there's one of two things that happens. I mean, your screenplay is adapted immediately, and it's cast, and they got to make sure that all the players are Republicans. If you went and said, no, they're Democrats, no, it's not believable. 2020 is many things. It's an attempt to take your vote away from you again. It's an attempt at collusion that's never been done on this level, ever. The wall of lies around the COVID. We'll talk about that later in the show. This is going to be a big part of the debate tonight between Vice President Pence and the personalities that make up the body of Kamala Harris. She's multiple people. That's going to be a huge topic. What with the silly plexiglass between them. The wall of lies around the COVID, and then the walls of the propaganda of silence around this. This is a political theory that I've developed. That bias is spottable in the media. It's scannable. There was I think she's a political reporter. I just saw this that had tweeted out that Mark Meadows was being incautious with his mask, and there's video of Meadows saying, "Hey, everybody, move back. All the reporters move back before I take off my mask to talk to." There's video, so we can spot that and say, look, she didn't tell the truth. He told them to take off the mask. But the propaganda of silence is such a powerful tool. There are people to this day who believe that Russia hacked the elections. And they firmly believe that. And you can't disabuse them of that. just like the average American for some time, and maybe still, a poll showed that the average American believed 30 million Americans had died from the COVID flu. 30 million people. I mean, the somewhere around 100,000 or so that actually died with or from it, and the 200,000 total, it's bad enough. And the silence around that issue, that the media refuses to talk about the survivability rates. You twin these things up. And now the propaganda is silence about what we've learned. I mean, you and I, we pay attention to politics. You know, one of my struggles, honestly, not that you have any reason to care about a guest host for Rush, but maybe we share the same struggle. My work is my show prep. My life is now show prep. And I've heard Rush say life is show prep, but I mean, I can't get away from this because it is a phenomenal thing to behold. I'm worried, but I'm enthusiastic. I'm worried and I'm enthusiastic, and I'll tell you why I'm enthusiastic, because now I'm watching the left pull out every possible stop. We'll talk about this in the next segment, but you have people saying, oh, I can't testify because of the COVID. You can't testify at home on the Zoom meeting? Oh, well, that would be unfair. We have now another Hail Mary from the New York Times pretending that the president had zeal. He was anxious to separate kids from families at the border, that he had Jeff Sessions. They were saying, oh, this will be fun. It's based upon the notes of a person. Well, it's pretty good sourcing, New York Times, notes of a person. I think they were a little bit more specific than that, but notes of someone familiar with the conversation. It's phenomenal. So on that front, I'm enthusiastic because I see them continuing to throw things at the wall. But on another front, I think that we have a responsibility. That responsibility is to ask any reasonable Democrat we have in our life, any reasonable Democrat. And there are some left, and I have reasonable Democrats in my family. Not the leftists, they're gone. To ask any undecided voter if they know a couple of things. One of them is, do you know that entire 3.5-year discussion about Russia hacking our democracy, as the left would say, do you know that we now know that came from Hillary Clinton? Do you know that that's now confirmed? Are you comfortable electing as president Vice President Biden, who knew about all these things? Are you comfortable electing Joe Biden, who participated in the greatest crime against our participatory democracy that's ever occurred, our Republican form of democracy? This was an attempt to steal the results of your vote. And I am a big fan of trying things in real life. Take what they did here and try this in real life someday. I encourage you sometime, I don't, but I kind of do, in traffic court to go present some documents that, oh, the officer was off duty, and the judge will say, oh, where'd you get these? A friend of mine made them up. Pardon? Yeah, a friend of mine. I just had him type them up. He's a Russian. You will go to jail where you belong. Meanwhile, we are told that the big issue is President Trump's tax returns. The president lost a round in court. He's going to take it to the Supreme Court. We're told that this is now the issue on which we need to focus. How did the president make money before he got into office? We are told that that's the issue that matters when we have had the nation's highest officials, from the president to the vice president to the secretary of state to the heads of our intelligence services, lying to a secret court, the most powerful court. It's not, SCOTUS may be important, and we're going to talk later about Amy Coney Barrett and what they intend to do, the Democrats intend to do to her. We're going to have a guest on to talk about that who helped get Brett Kavanaugh his seat on the bench. The FISA court is a secret court that can spy on American citizens. And we had the nation's highest officials lying to it. Now, I don't know. I think that's sort of a big deal. Maybe that's just me. Do you remember this? Please remember this. And please communicate with your independent friends and your reasonable Democrat friends. And the links to this stuff are always on rushlimbaugh.com. The stack of stuff, even with guest hosts like myself and Ken and Mark. Never forget that after the election, 1,500 or so Obama administration staffers and lawyers had a meeting in Washington, D.C. How do we slow walk the orders of this president? How do we say no? How do we refuse to implement his orders, even in government departments that report directly to him? How do we refuse to implement the results of the election? How do we refuse to take orders from the American people? How do we refuse to play our roles as so-called civil servants? If you remove yourself from politics, and I know that's hard for us, this should chill everybody. There's no spirit of truth in this. There's no spirit of transparency. There's no application of truth or transparency. And Joe Biden wants the job. And tonight, Kamala Harris is going to call Mike Pence a racist and a bigot. We're going to talk later in the show about how Pence, by being calm and compassionate Mike Pence, can draw Kamala Harris or Kamala Harris-I into being one of her most grating personalities. And in that way, he can win. There's so much to get to as we continue. Tod Herman in for Rush Limbaugh on the EIB Network.
When you read the Limbaugh letter, you're prepped to combat liberal madness because El Rushbo supplies you with an arsenal of facts. Subscribe to the print edition of the Limbaugh letter and you'll get free Rush's dad's famous, inspiring speech, Stand Up for America as Founded, the signer's secrets that can save us today. Order now at rushlimbaugh.com. You're listening to the EIB Network.
The 5 o'clock news hour. Today, 5 till 6 on News Radio, Wham 1180.
Athletes nationwide